what happened is that in the Judean Arabic language, there was a connection to the dialects, okay? And in this Judean Arabic language, people began to look at things from a different angle. Hold on for a second. I'm taking that out of my notes there, because I don't want that in there, in that one part, but let's go ahead and deal with it. I don't want to deal with that one part there. The part up here where it says, right here, I took this whole thing out because what it was is that I copied this information from two encyclopedias, and in these two encyclopedias, they were saying that Judean Arabic language and the Arabic-speaking Jews, and we know that's true because that's Maimonides, that's Masha'Allah, and etc. They had a different dialect, but then they get into the Judean German, such as the Western Yiddish and Eastern Yiddish, forms of Ladino, which we talked about, the Judean Spanish, and then in areas of the Balkans and the Moroccos, thus giving the Moors who spoke the Judean Arabic language. And that's why most of the Moors who are called Moors are seeking sovereignty, they deal with this and deal with a lot of the Judean Arabic name and the language of speaking. But the Hebrew alphabet in itself, it began to take on the 22 letters. And in these 22 letters, they have a different forms and etc. But they were saying the connection to Hebrew letters also use mildly adapted forms for writing several other languages. And of the Jewish diaspora, most famously is the Yiddish, then the Ladino and the Judean Arabic. Now, that's where it says for C, the Jewish. That's come from the Judean encyclopedia, the Jewish encyclopedia. But I really wanted to pull from that and deal with that because I wanted to say, here is where it gets into how Hebrew is written from right to left and has no vowels. Now, the Hebrew word for alphabet is alphabet, and they put it like this, the name of the first two letters, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't want to get into that either because I was trying to get away from being too academic and wasn't dealing with the Moors, and I was getting into a different structure. So where I'm going now is according to my notes. And right here is where I want to stay. The Samaritans, the Shumarims, and the Arabic are known in the Talmud as Kathims, all right? And we know that Kathim, this here, they're saying Ka, Wa, see, Tha, see, Yum. So the thing is, ethno-religious group of the Levant, okay? The Levant is where they were called the Lavians. Now what happened is the Jewish sector began to take on another form and mirror these individuals and call themselves Levites. Now, these ancient so-called Sumerians, from the beginning of the Babylonian exile up to the beginning of the Christian era, the Samaritans, however, derived their name not from this geographical destination, but rather from the term which is saying Samarim, which means the keeper. And they're the keeper of the law. So in other words, there was a group of men, and the group of men were called keepers, and some were called protectors. These individuals took on being warriors, and these individuals is what we have, the brothers that take on this thing, and they guarded the certain temples. And when they guarded these certain temples, this is where these brothers began to take on this structure of being who and what they are, because they are now beginning to look like this. And that's what the brothers are. They begin to look like the brother Jai White here, playing the more warrior, the guardian of the gate. And the thing is that these brothers began to known famously, and this is how they became earmarked, because in that latter period of time, they were known as great warriors, and they always had them at gates and at the front line because they were extreme warriors. All right? Very skilled in hand-to-hand combat and weaponry, just as today Jai White is. You know, the brother is awesome. But back to where we are. So what happened is that in this period, the Samaritans, and later on in the Japanese that came on offshoot from the Yafeto tribes and etc., Ayapato and etc., they started hooking up with the Caucasoids from the Caucasoid Mountains and began to do things, and they wanted to make a mark that was different from the so-called, as we call them, Moors. And so they made an individual to be lighter. Then the rules began, the Yafet code, and accept all these different codes of the lighter individual. But they were not the keeper of the law, nor were they gatekeepers of the book. The female had to be an individual from the seven principal people. The seven principal people are the ones who are designated by the Creator to have this order. And even though men are great and have done many wonderful and terrible great things, Hitler and Alexander and etc., even in the Egyptian orders of the pharaohs, and they were evil. I know the pharaohs supposed to be where blacks go into different things, but they were evil. Evil. After the wife and daughter of so-called Ham, Amaya, then the pharaohs came and did evil things. Evil things. Religiously, they are the adherents to the Samaritanism, a religion based on the Torah. The Samaritans claim that their worship is opposed now to the mainstream Judaism and is the true religion of the ancient so-called Israelites, predating the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. In other words, it's predating anything Jewish. So therefore, you got a structure going on that's predating Jewish and anything else, because they're saying that they're opposing Judaism because it does not have the language. And one thing is, we know that the foundation of it, it goes from there. So we know that there is a structure there. So when what happened is, we get into the ancient Hebrew and the Samaritan Aramaic is used, but the Israelites were the dominant group living in the land of Israel, previously called Canaan or Canaan, between the conquest of territory by Joshua. Who is Joshua? Joshua is that individual who is in the Bible, who was mentioned, that was talking about how he was going to conquer different things. Him and another brother named Caleb, or Caleb, it depends on how you want to pronounce it. Now, the Hebrew Bible itself, see, this is 586 BC, before the Common Era. The Hebrew Bible is mainly concerned with the Israelites, all right, as they say. Jerusalem was their capital and the site of the temple, etc. This is where I got this information. I took this out of the, once again, the Jewish Encyclopedia. Pulled that up, and that's why I didn't copy this well. And I was like, what? Whatever. But it says that the descendants were called the children of Israel, or the people of Israel, or the Israelites. And according to the Hebrew Bible, they formed themselves into 12 tribes, each claiming that one of the 12 sons and grandsons of Jacob. But I put down, this is where I put my part, but there is more. And where it is more is where it connects to what we're talking about, the description of the 7 other tribes. The 7 other tribes is where the whole community, etc., according to Joshua 18, assembled at Shiloh. Can anybody tell me what the meaning of Shiloh is? I got it in this dictionary, but what is the meaning of Shiloh?
Eternal.
What was that?
Eternal host.
Eternal host. That's cool, but no. What is Shiloh?
I think what we was told from years ago that in another class setting, he was doing instructional speaking of that Shiloh was like some form of hell.
That was not Shiloh. That was